Let's get started.
Welcome to the Financial Purpose Podcast. All opinions expressed by me or guests of the podcast are solely our own opinions and do not reflect the opinion of LifeMoves Wealth Management. This podcast is for informational purposes only and should not be relied upon for any investment decisions. Clients of LifeMoves Wealth Management may maintain positions in the securities discussed in this podcast. Hello and welcome back to the Financial Purpose Podcast. This is episode 61. And today we're going to talk about money scripts. And I want to talk about this topic because I've just been reading a lot and thinking a lot and having some conversations with people. And I'm always interested in how you form your opinions and your actions and behaviors around money. And money scripts are very, very powerful. So I want to illustrate that by just kind of starting off with a little story that Melissa, my wife, actually cued me into, and it's from a book that she's been reading or just finished reading called The World of Wonders. And the author's name, I'm going to butcher this, I'm sure, but the name is Amy, Aimee, and the last name is Nezhukumatathil. I think I got that right, Nezhukumatathil. Look it up, The World of Wonders. And it's a really neat book. She goes through different animals and tells a story about that animal, their migration patterns, their life, different things like that, and then kind of brings it back to how it might apply to us. One of the interesting stories was my wife said, "Hey, did you know?" And anytime that my wife starts a sentence with that, I'm like, okay, this is going to be interesting, right? So here's the gist. So there is a spot over Lake Superior where migrating butterflies veer sharply. Middle of the lake, they just take a hard turn. No one understood why they made such a quick turn at that exact specific place every single time, every single migration year. And geologists finally made a connection. A mountain once rose out of the water at that exact location thousands of years ago, from what they can tell. These butterflies and their offspring can still remember when there was a giant mass. Now, they've never seen this mass, but going back, there was, and it's been passed down that they can remember the mass they've never seen, the sound waves breaking just so, and they fly out of the way of this mass that's no longer there. How did they pass the knowledge of the invisible? Does the message transit through the song they sing to themselves on the wild nights, spinning inside a chrysalis, or in the music kissed down their back as they crack themselves open the morning of the sun? Does milkweed whisper instructions to them as it scatters in the meadow? So that's really interesting to me if you think about how for thousands of years butterflies simply get to a spot and they make a hard turn for something that's no longer there, but that's what they've been taught, that's what they remember, that's what they pass down. And it's, scientifically it's something that's hard-coded in DNA, whatever it is. They remember a thing that was there and have not altered their pattern. So I as I was reading this, I thought about, what if there's like that one, total maverick butterfly that's like, why are you guys, I'm just going to keep going straight, right? And then it interrupts that pattern, and then evolutionary change happens for these butterflies. But I don't know. It's really interesting. And I thought about that story, and as soon as she read it to me, I was like, oh, that is a great illustration for the power of money scripts. It works the same way. They are unconscious beliefs and behaviors and patterns around money that are passed down from our parents and from their parents and from their parents' parents and so on. And so sometimes these money scripts, they continue to guide our financial decisions, even if we don't know where they come from, even if we don't realize that they're running in our heads as we intersect money and as we make decisions and as we pass on beliefs and habits and traits and patterns around money to our children. And what I'm going to talk about today, I have quite a few notes. This will become a companion post on lifemoveswealth.com/blog. So be sure to check that out there. But some of this that I talked through made me stop and think about what I did as a parent to our children, and what kind of money scripts I passed on to them. And I'll tell you, it's a really sobering thought to think about, because sometimes you just go through life and um, you're just kind of unaware of what you're passing on to your children. But, we had a pastor back in the Midwest, and he said that more is caught than taught when it comes to kids. And I always thought that was brilliant, right? So they catch more than you teach them. And it's really fascinating. So let's talk about money scripts, and then I'm going to go into some scripts that may be running that may feel familiar to you. All right. Money scripts are basically a deeply ingrained belief that we've developed about money, often formed in our childhoods through observing how our parents or caregivers or whoever was influential in our lives in our formative years, how they handled their finances. And these beliefs get passed down from generation to generation. Maybe they get altered a little bit, but again, not all that different than those butterflies and their thousands of years of evolutionary migration patterns taking a hard veer in the middle of Lake Superior. There is a financial psychologist by the name of Dr. Brad Klontz. He's done extensive research on this stuff. And the thing with money scripts is they often lead to our habits, and they show up in ways like overspending, hoarding money, avoiding financial decisions, feeling intense guilt about wealth that you've generated. All of this is rooted in past experiences and things that have been taught to you. So money scripts, they tend to either set us on a path toward good financial health, or sometimes more commonly, they create barriers that form in our financial well-being. And here's some examples that you might want to consider, or things that, as I read them, see if they align with any of the scripts or the way that you think about money. The first money script that we run into is money worship. And the script goes, more money equals more happiness and success. Now, this belief may lead to the idea that financial wealth is the ultimate goal, and that more money will always solve any problem, or it will bring the lasting fulfillment that you're seeking. It can result in overworking, overspending, or measuring self-worth by financial success alone. Now, this tends to be common amongst people, including myself, who weren't raised with ample financial sources. So if you were raised in a home where money wasn't plentiful, where sometimes things were maybe in doubt, or if you've ever been through, hard things like an eviction, or the power not working, or the water being turned off, or the cable being turned off, or whatever, or somebody missing a bill, or not being able to provide for groceries, or not being able to afford Christmas, right? These are the kinds of things that lead to the money script of money worship. More money equals more happiness. Less money equals less happiness, right? That's the script. The second script I see a lot is money status. The script goes, my value is determined by how much money I have, or by the lifestyle I project. A person running this particular script may feel compelled to maintain an image of wealth and success, which could lead to overspending, making purchases to keep up appearances, or they prioritize material wealth over other important life values. And so sometimes this is going to look like the jewelry, or the clothing, or the car, or the house. Those are the things that take the financial priority, and they prevent them from making other financial choices that may be healthier. So this could accelerate into somebody who carries a higher debt load to be able to maintain the lifestyle, which really is not sustainable for most people. But that typically is where the money status life script or money script is going to take them. The third script that might be familiar is money abundance. And the script is that there will always be enough money. Don't worry about it. There's always more money. Money's abundant. Money's plentiful. Money exists for you to go get it. A person with this script, while it can foster a sense of security, could also lead to financial complacency and sometimes irresponsible money management. It can also lead to overwork for some people, especially entrepreneurs who are going to go out and they're going to chase that money because it's out there, right? Grant Cardone's famous for saying, "Who's got my money?" Right? Because somebody out there has the money that you're looking for, and you just need to rescue it from them, right? That's the whole gig. So somebody with that script, they may take financial security for granted. They may avoid planning or budgeting or even saving because they assume money will just always be there. It'll just always show up when I need it. It's always going to happen. Sometimes this leads to the fallacy of sudden money or windfall dependency, which is where no worries, I'll just go buy more lottery tickets this week. I'll scratch them off. It's going to get me the money I need to pay rent or whatever, right? Sometimes that happens. But typically if you're not worried about money, it tends to lead to that level of complacency. The next script that I see is money as a tool for freedom. And the script runs such that money allows me to live on my own terms. Now, somebody with this script can feel very empowered, and it can lead to a healthy relationship with money where it's seen as a tool for freedom, opportunity, creating experiences, and you do that rather than looking at money as kind of a means to an end in and of itself. Without balance, though, this script could lead to indulgent spending without long-term planning. So again, money allows me to live on my terms. I can do what I want. If I have enough money, I have options. This is a good script. It can be very healthy, but again, it can lead to a little bit more of a lifestyle creep kind of situation. The next script is money avoidance due to guilt. This script would sound like, I don't deserve to have this much money when others are struggling. If someone grows up in an affluent home, but is taught that others are less fortunate, they may develop a guilt-based relationship with money. This is not all that different than when we were kids and you didn't want to finish the last couple of bites of food and your parents would say, there are starving kids in China. And if you were raised in the 70s and 80s, I guarantee you heard that. Maybe into the 90s. There are starving kids in China. Eat your food. And now that I'm an adult, I certainly heard that. And I think about it and I'm like, this doesn't make sense because if I eat my food, it doesn't solve the problem. It doesn't stop the kids in China from starving. And why are the kids in China starving? What's going on? And anyway, or kids in Africa, right? Because in that time period, it was Somalia and Rwanda and places like that where there was war, civil war, and a lot of famine and such. So anyway, back to I don't deserve to have this much money when others are struggling. It could lead to an avoidance of wealth or even self-sabotage when it comes to financial success because somebody carrying this script will feel undeserving or even uncomfortable with their privilege. Now, this could lead to somebody who over donates or over gives to charities and things like that, which is not a bad thing. But there is a point where it potentially sabotages your own financial success, your own future financial success, and you could be robbing from your future self because of the guilt that you feel about what resources you have available today. So there's definitely a healthy balance that needs to come in with this particular money script, which is the guilt-based around how much money you have or how much success you've been able to generate. And I think the healthy way to do that is to think about how you can use that as a tool to help others while also being sure that you're helping yourself in the process. The next script that I will run into is money entitlement. And the script will sound like I should have access to money without having to work for it. Now, there are some people who are going to listen to this podcast are going to hear that script. I should have it. I shouldn't have to work for it. And you're going to instantly go, oh, that's Gen Z. guarantee Gen Z. And while we're at Gen Z, let's go back to the millennials because they're entitled too. So this particular script applies across all the generations. And it can develop if a person grows up in a home where money flows freely without any expectations of personal contributions or hard work. The belief can lead to a heavy sense of entitlement, dependency on others, poor work ethic, and or a lack of financial discipline. Now, this was one of the money scripts that I wanted to make sure that our children didn't have because they had friends who were in a different wealth status than we were. Their parents made more money. They had bigger homes, all of these things. And they would have gas cards, or they would just be able to ask their parents for whatever amount of money they wanted to go buy the thing or go do the thing. And it was never an issue. Our kids, I wanted them to work for fun money, right? So when they became teenagers, especially, we're going to help you get a car. We're going to help you get a job. We're going to help you understand how to interview and how to have a good work ethic. But you're going to go to work and you're going to earn your paycheck. And then with that paycheck, we're going to put a little bit away for, a 10% that's going to go to somebody else. So that's going to go to a tithe or a donation to a charity or something like that. Most of the time for us in our household, it went to tithing. And then we're going to put away another percentage for yourself for future money. And then the rest is fun money. So go on the trip, put gas in the car, go to Cedar Point because we lived in the Midwest, or go to Great America in Chicago, or go get a hamburger with your friends or whatever. But I didn't want them to just have free access to money and then expect that it would just be given to them because people like them. So they would just give them things. So that can be a very, I think, a dangerous money script is the money entitlement. The next money script that we're going to hear, and this is the last of the group, is money security. And that script would sound like money provides security and stability. And a positive version of this particular script can lead to responsible financial management, a focus on saving and planning for their future selves. However, it can also result in excessive risk aversion, where the fear of losing wealth becomes a barrier to taking any financial risk or making any necessary investments. So again, the script was money provides security and stability. And what happens is once you have some of that money, then stability looks like having money in a bank account. And there's nothing wrong with having some money in a bank account. If you go back and listen to any other episode of this podcast, I talk about the importance of having a cash reserve. And then at some point, once you reach your cash reserve, every dollar above the cash reserve needs to be treated like an employee, and its job is to go find other employees to recruit, kind of like a money cult, right? Have your money go recruit other money and bring it back home. But that's far different than feeling the need for security, becoming ultra conservative and ultra risk averse, because without taking any risk, it's very difficult to get very much gain that's going to have any kind of long-term meaningful impact for yourself and for your children and for your family. So it's a healthy money script that can very easily become unhealthy if your tendency is to hold resources. And this would be somebody who would be prone to like an avarice kind of thing. Because resources doesn't necessarily mean money. It can be things like, we can't, we have to preserve the amount of groceries we have, for example, in the cupboard. Or I don't want to drive across town because that uses too much gas. Or, it's those kinds of things, right? So it's where you hold yourself back from using resources because you're afraid of losing them. And that can be a dangerous money script as well. So if any of these money scripts feels familiar, you're not alone. The good news is that unlike those butterflies I talked about at the start of the episode, we do have the ability to, number one, become aware of the inherent patterns that have been set for us. And then number two, we have the ability to kind of break these generational money scripts. And that's the key to unlocking new financial potential and possibilities, not only for yourself, but for your children and for their children, because you'll start to pass on a different type of money script and money belief in a way that can be helpful to them and helpful on down the line of generations. So I want to give you 4 steps that you can take to check how much influence an old money script has over your financial decisions and the way that you think about money. And as I said, these money scripts can be running completely independent of your conscious thought, but they're just the formed belief of what you hold. There are some things that people hold to be true about money that may be outdated or maybe not applicable to their current situation, or maybe harmful to them, and it may be limiting their ability to move forward in life. So let's talk about those 4 steps. The first step you can take is to reflect on your earliest memories around money. So take some time and think back to your childhood. Now, what's interesting about being raised in the 70s, 80s, and 90s, for those of us listening who are in that kind of late stage boomer, Generation X, who always gets forgotten about, by the way, whenever we talk about wealth management, because all the wealth management stuff, all the financial planning stuff is the boomers are passing money to the millennials, and that's the great wealth transfer. My parents are Gen Xers. They're right in the middle. So what about them? Actually, my parents might actually still be boomers now that I think about it. Yeah, that's probably true because I'm on the older end of millennials. So yeah, they're boomers. But there's Xers who are kind of right in the middle and they get forgotten about. So any of us who were raised in that era, and Josh, you can probably attest to this too, not only were we told that there were starving kids somewhere else in the world, but also we had to get in touch with our inner child once we became early adults. So that was a big thing in the 90s, right? Go find your inner child because they need a hug. Right? So like weird stuff. So think about your childhood, right? Not your inner child, because that's a whole different conversation. But in your childhood, what were the dominant financial messages that you were told or that you observed or that you picked up on or that you might have heard? Did you grow up in a home where money was a source of stress? Was it something that was freely available? Money was just available? Was it not discussed much? Was it, potentially like the way that we raised our kids, where I was guilty, especially early on, of saying, you know what, we can't do that. That's not in the budget. Or we can't buy that because that's not in the budget. And I had to unlearn that, right? I learned that money script from how I saw things because there were a lot of things that weren't in the budget. And so that was all I knew to say. And it wasn't that we couldn't, the couple of extra dollars for the ice cream cone upgrade wasn't going to break our bank. But the money script that I ran was that it wasn't in the budget. It wasn't a prudent use of money, right? So maybe you grew up that way and that's the money script that you carried. All of those early experiences, they absolutely shape our core beliefs around money, and we carry those forward. So ask yourselves, next level question, did your parents argue about money? Were you taught to save everything? Were you taught to do a little bit of saving and a little bit of spending? Were you taught that it didn't matter if you had money, just it burns a hole in your pocket, go spend it as soon as you get it? Did you notice tension, anxiety, or even abundance around money? So as you reflect on that, it's going to start to open up some of the ways that you might be running money scripts. It always does for me every time I think about it, right? I was just recently, as I was writing the notes for this and kind of crafting how I wanted to say this, all of this in the episode, I remembered that, it's not in the budget. And if you find any of our kids, they'll tell you that was the deal. And sometimes it was as simple as, we as a family, we like our beverage of choice is water. We drink a lot of water. But when the kids are a little bit older, they're like, hey, can we get a root beer or a Coke? And I would say, it's not in the budget. Because in my head, that's an extra $12 around the table. So how stupid is that, right? Like literally how silly is that? $12, if we have the ability to go out to dinner, which we often did on Sundays after church, it was just part of our routine. I don't think the $12 was really going to make any difference. But in my head, it made a lot of difference. And in my head, I was teaching them to be prudent with money, but I think I actually passed on a non-helpful money script, right? So think about that. Think about how that happened, how that looked in your childhood. That's certainly how it looked in my childhood. We didn't get any extra stuff. We didn't go out to eat very much. Money was just always a source of tension and stress. That's how I remember it. But how you remember it is how you're going to carry it forward. So think about that. Some beliefs that you may have inherited from reflecting on that childhood and how you learned about money was maybe money is hard to come by. Maybe that's what you inherited as a belief. Maybe one of your beliefs is you need to save every penny. Maybe one of your beliefs is more money will make you more happy. Maybe one of your beliefs is talking about money is taboo. And once you recognize which of those scripts you're running, you can begin to understand how to shape your new or current financial habits in your mindset. Okay, second step you can take to evaluate the money scripts is to challenge them. Challenge the beliefs you hold around money and test if they're still relevant. So take a critical look at your money scripts and ask whether they still fit your current financial situation. Beliefs that may have served your parents in a different economic context might not serve you today. Now, did you know that many of the pearls of wisdom and accepted financial rules of thumb, or even as far as truisms, that we still hold true about money, comes from those who lived through the Great Depression? So sayings such as, don't put all your eggs in one basket, waste not, want not. Or how about this one? The banks and the stock market are too risky. Or how about hard times can come at any time? Avoid debt at all cost. Save every penny you can. Don't overspend, right? Value shop. If one loaf of bread is 29 cents and one's 32 cents, the choice is clear. Whatever it is, that's all Great Depression era thinking. And so what's interesting about that, as a side note, is that financial markets have significantly evolved and matured. The banking system has evolved and matured. There's a lot of regulations that have been put into place multiple times over the last 90 years, 95 years. A lot of rules have been put into place. Some of the rules that we still follow and that I'm still governed around was written in 1933, the Securities Act of 1933, the Securities and Exchange Act of 1934, and the Investment Company Act of 1940. They still hold true today. They were written as a result of the Great Depression. So some of that thinking about whether these beliefs are still relevant, and some of the older beliefs that we're holding still, they need to be challenged, and they need to be thought through a modernized lens. So you want to see if these beliefs limit you or limit your ability to reach whatever's important to you about money, whatever your goals are, whatever next steps you're trying to take. So if your goal is to build wealth, but you're stuck in a scarcity mindset that tells you to avoid risks, you may be missing out on really good investment opportunities or ways for your money to make money. On the flip side, if you've inherited that, money worship script, and you're constantly striving for more wealth at the expense of your personal life, it might be worth reassessing what you truly value. And the reason that you're running those scripts is because it's a scarcity mindset on both sides, right? So consider how these beliefs might be limiting your financial potential. Are you avoiding taking necessary risk because you've been conditioned to fear financial loss or fear the money going away? Are you overspending to maintain an image because you equate money to success? Challenge yourself to rewrite these beliefs into something more aligned with your current goals. And so, for example, maybe you're going to shift from I need to save everything I get to I can plan for both saving and enjoying money. And if you go back a couple of episodes, I talked about the word "and," because at Life Moves Wealth and through the financial planning process that I use, yes, financial planning or financial purpose, right? All those things get mixed in. Sorry. The financial planning process that I use is very heavy on the word "and." We have to live today and we have to live tomorrow. We have to plan for today's financial success and tomorrow's financial success. We have to make good financial decisions today, and we have to make good financial decisions for tomorrow. So, and can be very important in helping you challenge some of these deeply held, rooted in old thinking money scripts. The third step you can take is to just take a proactive step toward budgeting, investing, and even seeking advice. Breaking free from some of these limiting money scripts isn't just about identifying and challenging them. It's actually taking the next step, some concrete action moving forward to break them. If you've identified that a scarcity mindset is indeed holding you back, you can take steps to do things like create a budget or cash flow. If that's a better word, I like cash flow better. It sounds better. The budget, the T is like a hard thing. It sounds authoritative, whatever. Cash flow is nice because it's money coming in, money coming out, and you can kind of control that rhythm. Whatever word works for you. You can create something that allows for both saving and spending in both a responsible manner, right? That key word, and, very important. Start by building the positive habits. You can even do things like set up automatic savings or investments or contributions into accounts. You can make a very solid and maybe even slightly aggressive, if you're of the mind to do so, a debt repayment plan that makes sense for you. You can even diversify your income streams. The nice thing about the world we live in today is with the money abundance script, there's no shortage of ways to go earn money, especially in an economy that's very service oriented, very creator centric, right? If you can create content and you can get it out and you can get it viral and you can do that well, you can make money in the world today. I mean, there are people who play video games and make $1 million playing video games because other people are watching them play video games. It's wild. And there's all sorts of ways to do it. You can do it through photography and writing and maybe podcasting if you can build a large enough audience. You can do it through any number of side hustles, consulting and delivering food and driving people to the airport and whatever. There's all sorts of ways to do it. It could be a nice way to start to think about, if I weren't so scared of money and if I weren't trying to save everything I had and save extra time, if money and time were not holding me back, what else could I do that might be fun or even might be enjoyable as a hobby, but also maybe can generate a little extra passive income so I can have some fun money, right? This could be my ice cream money, or this could be my I want a new camera money, or it could be my shoes, all right? Daddy needs new shoes. It can be we're going to take a cruise as a family, or it can just be as simple as I want to be able to go to dinner once a week and not feel guilty about it, so I'm going to earn a little extra money. Whatever it is, find that next thing that makes sense. These little small steps that you're going to take are going to build confidence. It's going to help you. So even things like just simply writing down, this is how much money I spend every month. This is where it goes. This is how much money I earn. What's the difference? Even just starting a savings account or opening a second or third or fourth savings account where you're just depositing money. And again, if you go back to the "and" episode, I talked about savings accounts as really being future spending. So anytime that you're saving money, you must automatically give yourself permission to spend it for a specific purpose at a specific time once you reach a specific dollar amount, right? That's the only reason to save, is for future spending. And so maybe you're going to say, I'm going to start a vacation account, or I'm going to start a holiday account. Most credit unions and banks have those Christmas club accounts or things like that where they pay you a little bit more interest, but you can push money there. And so even something like that, it can just help you gain a little bit of control over your finances, because now you're starting to direct where your money's going rather than the money going where it is and directing you with what you're going to do in response, right? So it gives you the ability to gain the confidence to take control of what's happening with the money. If that's difficult, or if a lack of financial literacy in general is contributing to your money avoidance, or your the over influence of a money script, then get professional help. Seek out the advice of a financial planner, or if you're not ready for a financial planner, get a good financial coach. I have a couple of really great financial coaches, and I would be happy to connect you to them, because these are people who are going to help you create kind of I want to say the basics, and then even the next level. They're going to help you get organized. They're going to help you see the playing field. They're going to remove some of the confusion around money. They're going to help you with some money vocabulary. There is a language of finance. They will teach you that language. They will help you make good spending and savings. They will help you set up the right number of bank accounts at the right places that pay the right interest. They'll help you put all this together. And a money coach is a very valuable relationship, especially if you're having trouble just staying organized and figuring out where money's going and how to control it. If money feels out of control, get a financial coach. Send me an email at info@lifemoveswealth.com. In the subject line, put "I need a money coach," and I will be happy to immediately forward that to somebody who can help you. And I have a couple of great ones who I would love to introduce you to. If you're ready for a financial planner, you've got the basics covered and you know where money's going, and now you just need help getting it into the next level, which is more strategic thinking about money and savings and taxes and estate planning. Great. Send an email to info@lifemoveswealth.com and say, "I need a financial planner," and I'll be happy to help you, and we can get started there. So get professional help. There's nothing wrong with reaching out, talking to somebody about money, and getting the guidance that you need to be able to make your next best step forward. So when you do all of that, what you're doing is creating a system to regularly evaluate your financial goals and your progress. The progress is very important. So are you saving enough for retirement? Are you investing well for your future? Are you making good choices with how you're investing? Is it strategic? Are you proactive and hands-on, and you want to do it yourself? Is that something that maybe is a money script that's limiting, right? Because maybe you were told that you don't need to pay somebody to help you with money because money's easy. Maybe you're stuck there because money should be easy, but it's not. Or maybe it is, and you just want a second set of eyes. Whatever it is, getting that next level of professional help can help you break some of those money scripts and just, again, see the whole playing field in a completely different way. It can be very helpful for you. Okay, the fourth step you can take is to talk about money. And money is often very much a taboo subject, but opening up about money and how you see it and how you intersect it, removing the shame. A lot of times money is attached to shame. If you talk about money in a way that is kind of like a safe place, I often will tell clients, because I can see that they're wrestling with something, and I'll say, look, this is a safe space. This is a judgment-free zone. We're going to figure out the best solution anyway. If you don't tell me about it, I can't help you. I'm going to know something's going on, and you're not going to get the guidance you need. Get into somebody who can help you create a safe space to talk about money, no matter how much shame you have attached to it, or how guilty you feel about past decisions, or how inadequate you feel about understanding how money works, or whatever it is. Get into a safe place, open up about that, and that's going to help also break some negative money scripts that may be running in your head, that may be part of your family, that may be generational. By having some of these open and honest conversations about finances, even if it's with your spouse and your children or your parents or somebody that you trust, it can help foster a much healthier relationship with money. And again, this helps you break a cycle that shifts what you're passing down to other people. And not just your children. You're passing it off to your spouse. You're passing it off to a coworker. You're passing it off to an employee. Maybe you're passing it off to a neighbor or a best friend or whatever it is, right? This is going to help you kind of secure your own oxygen mask if you will. So then you can help other people do the same. And you want to create a positive money culture. And the way to do that is to use the experiences that you've gained with money, and use them to teach your children, younger family members, about the value of money, responsible spending, saving, investing. Break the limiting money cycle, and those limited money scripts by sharing what you've learned and encouraging a balanced view of money. Now, when we were raising kids, they never knew what the budget was. Remember, I said that I would tell them it's not in the budget. But they never knew what that meant. They never knew what the budget was. They never knew how much money was coming in or how much money was going out. And at the time, I thought that was because, number one, it was none of their business. Number two, if you give a child too much information, they're going to force you to have the burden of proof. And so it's even around things like, you sometimes will argue logic with children about why they can't do things that they want to do, like, eat a king-size Snicker bar at 9:30 at night when they have to be in bed at 10 a.m. because there's an exam tomorrow morning at 7:30, right? Just it's not a good, or why they shouldn't have a TV in their bedroom, or in our house, why is it that you can't have your phone in your room at bedtime or after bedtime? And it's because we know what's best. And if you start the kid going down the, well, why not? Then you bear the burden of proof, and they're the ones who get to decide whether or not your burden of proof is sufficient. So I always thought that's the way it was with money too. And unfortunately, I think I missed an opportunity to actually teach them about money in and money out at an earlier age. Now, when they started working, it was a little bit easier because it was their money in and their money out. And we were doing their taxes together, and they were understanding how taxes are calculated and what the deductions are and those kinds of things. And they were also learning how to kind of budget for themselves, and they could evaluate if they had enough money to do the thing, or if they had enough money, but maybe they should wait, or maybe they should do it, whatever it was. So they understood. They also understood that sometimes, when you start driving and all this independence is fun, sometimes you get a flat tire. And sometimes you have to pay for an oil change. And those kinds of things happen, right? So you understand that money requires maintenance, and having things requires maintenance. So whatever it is, however you can do it in your family and around a healthy way, do it. Create a family culture where money is seen as a tool for accomplishing a goal or living a fulfilling life or blessing other people, whatever it is. Make money a resource and not a sense of anxiety, or certainly not a way that you have status over other people. Discuss things like budgeting, investing, giving, working hard, volunteering, creating financial goals as a family, understanding, we used to do these summer lists, and Melissa was always very good about this with the kids in the summer. Make a list of all the things that they wanted to do in the summer, so they weren't just sitting at home watching TV or playing video games. We were out doing things, and there were all sorts of things, go to the beach and go pick blueberries, or we were going to take a trip to California to see the grandparents, or we were going to go to Florida, or we were going to go to the Detroit Zoo, or whatever we were doing that was on the list. Everybody had it, right? Get ice cream in Hell, Michigan, which we did one summer. That was a lot of fun. Whatever it is, it goes on the list. And then the kids start to understand that we have this list of things, but just because we have the list doesn't mean that they all get to come true, because all of those things require a money input. And so helping them understand what those things cost can kind of start to give them some insight into the fact that even if money is abundant, or even if it isn't, that you can understand how to decide that, or kind of where that middle of the road is with, I understand that things don't come for free, I think is important. And that can generate a healthy culture around money. So have those conversations. Empower the next generation by talking about money, by helping them understand money. They're going to start to make smarter financial decisions. Put them in scenarios where they can do that. Talk about money openly. Remove the mystery and the stigma around money. Create a legacy of good financial literacy and good financial independence. And if you need help, get help. Don't be afraid. Don't be shy. Don't be ashamed. And understand that it's going to require an investment of your time and some money for you to pay a professional to help you get further ahead. You will get further ahead working with a professional. I can guarantee. I really probably shouldn't guarantee it, but if you're going to put in the work and you have good guidance, you're going to go further and you're going to avoid some pitfalls and some tourist traps and some potholes and things like that. So those 4 steps, again, let me just go back through them. The first step, reflect on your earliest memories around money. The second step is to challenge those beliefs that you held to find out if they're still relevant. The third step is to take proactive steps, right? Once you've evaluated, do something. Even small steps, build confidence, take steps toward managing cash flow. Again, you're in charge of the flow. The flow isn't in charge of you, right? And then get good advice. And then finally, the fourth thing is to open up and talk about money. Those 4 steps, those are key to breaking limiting financial patterns and creating a new narrative of financial empowerment and opportunity. So as I wrap up here, I hope that this has been a helpful conversation around money scripts. It's not something that you're often going to hear a financial planner or a financial advisor talk about. You probably will hear a financial coach talk about this, or somebody writing a book. You're going to hear about money behavior and money scripts and money patterns. But I'm going to tell you, it does not matter how much money you have. You are running a money script. And if you're not hearing it from your financial advisor, you should, because it's a part of your financial decision making, right? The advisor needs to understand what's happening in your head first, and then what's happening between your head and your heart second, right? So you need to understand how you're seeing and thinking about money, and then what you believe about it and what's important to you about it, and how are you going to make those decisions. And those are just as important as the numbers on the page, in my opinion. So like the butterflies that are instinctively and evolutionarily, is that whatever the word is? I'm a financial guy, not a scientist, but whatever. They veer away from some mountain that does no longer exist. We may be following financial scripts the same way, that just no longer serve us and no longer have a purpose and no longer apply to the road that we're on. So by becoming aware of them, we can break them. And by taking good steps toward them, you can create a new legacy. So the choice to break free is up to you. You just gotta start with step number 1, right? Go back. What did I learn as a kid? Identify, and then start taking your next steps forward. So if you have questions about what money scripts you might be running or how they might be impacting your decisions, again, drop a comment, send an email to info@lifemoveswealth.com. I'll be happy to talk with you there. I'll be happy to explain any of this, put a second set of eyes of anything that you're working on, and create a safe space where it's okay to talk about money without shame, without guilt, and without holding and dragging those past sins with you, because at some point you got to drop them, right? It makes the load lighter, and a lighter load helps you move down the road faster and easier. So let's do it together. Anyway, please subscribe to the episode or to the podcast platform or to the YouTube channel. Please share it, because this is information that needs to be shared. I'm a big believer that if you grab information, it's not yours to hold on to. You got to use it, apply it, and pass it on to other people. So please do that. And again, questions, concerns, second set of eyes, info@lifemoveswealth.com. I'd be happy to pick up with you on any of those platforms. So until the next episode, go be financially awesome. Take care of yourselves. We'll see you. Thanks for listening to this episode. Be sure to like, subscribe, and share. To learn more about your financial purpose, visit lifemoveswealth.com.